onlinechesslessons.net, taking a look at one of my games from the under 2400 section at the 2012 World Open in Philadelphia, and it was a pretty rough tournament for me. I ended up finishing with 5 out of 9. It was disappointing, but I did have a couple nice games among the mix. So this was, I want to say it was like round 7 against a master, Chris Williams, and I don't know, I felt like kind of chilling out. So I played C4 and knight F3, avoiding. I found playing E4 was getting into a lot of crazy, sharp stuff, and I went to slow it down and play a nice positional game here. So he plays a Slav type structure with C6 and D5, knight F6, whatever. And I played B3. Not such a normal move. Usually you're going to see D4, knight C3 there. But like I said, I went to play a quieter game, so I figured, it's maybe some type of hedgehog structure to avoid complications. Bishop F5. I guess this is the Schallopp Variation for black. And so Bishop E2. I'm trying to figure out, I don't know if I want to play knight C3 or knight to D2. And D3 or D4. So Bishop E2 is a nice flexible alternative. Castles as well. And now with Bishop D6, he's forced my hand. He's starting to play E5, and I definitely don't want to allow that, so I just play D4 to stop him. Continues with Queen E7. And so, honestly, I don't really like to put the knight on C3 in these positions. The only real reason you're going to put the knight on C3 is if you want to go knight to A4 to capitalize on some type of weakness on that C5 square. That's normal protocol, I guess. So just knight to D2. The knight on C3, it's more, it blocks the bishop on B2, whereas on D2, we can maybe play knight E5 and then knight to F3, reinforcing it, whatever. So here I decided on C5. He played H6. He's playing very flexible. So the thing about H6 is, this is a pretty cool move, because now I might even have to reckon with G5. Now G5 is a real threat, and black can castle queenside or kingside. So it's very tough. Maybe kind of tough for white to make up your mind. It's more difficult to make a plan. And so here, really, I think only 2 responses worth considering to H6. White has the time for flexibility is over. If black plays G5 and starts rolling those pawns, that's going to be real. Black is also threatening to play E5. So here I need to either play knight E5. So to just jam the position. I wasn't really crazy about it. I think this is okay, but I chose a different route. And so I played C5. May look weird, you're never supposed to lock the center or whatever, but I felt like it was okay. After B4, he castles. So I call his hand, right? With this attack on the queen side now, he doesn't want to go queenside. That would be crazy. So now, subsequently, I don't have to mess around with G5. And also, I kind of calculated in the future that his E5 would not be so effective. So immediately, I went with B5. Didn't really see any point in prepping this move with either Queen B3 or A4. If you can go ahead and play it, why not try to go ahead and line up some pressure against that C6 pawn? And if he takes, well, then we just get what we want here. We open the position, we create some complications. Now if he plays E5, maybe after some exchanges, however you want to do this, it seems like white is going to play C6, and black will have a isolated pawn on D5. Nice square for the knight on D4. These are simple positions, but white is going to get an edge. And so that's kind of what I was hoping for when playing this C5, B4, B5 plan, is that I would get a nice square. I would just get a nice long-term positional edge with no risk. Very important. So we exchange. I take on C6 first, just to fix that weakness. And so now, after some exchanges on E5, so we just swap off a bishop and a knight each. This was really the position I was hoping for when I played C5. This was exactly what I wanted going into the game, playing a pretty relaxed opening. Now I'm going to go knight to F3 to D4. So we gain a nice tempo on the queen. Queen B2 was pretty ambitious. Maybe he had to opt for a somewhat more passive defense with Queen C7. Yeah, I think that was probably a better idea. So that after knight D4, the bishop doesn't get stuck forever on D7. The bishop can either chill on E4 or it stays on a more active diagonal. Definitely better. So just going back here. he played queen b2. It does look very active. With this bishop here, where black is controlling a lot of squares, but after knight d4, it was kind of superficial, I think, because now the bishop gets driven away from that good diagonal, and now it's stuck defending that c6 pawn. So queen a4. So the knight is doing a great job. We're hitting everything right here. Also keeping the center closed. He goes knight e4. Again, very active. So I guess also possible. I thought maybe rook b8. Because I can't quite take yet. He's got pressure on e2. Knight e4 was okay though. So now queen a5. I think this was a pretty good move. We defend the pawn, maybe cut off some squares from black's queen, and also threaten to come into c7. So those are always nice moves to make. Also, queen a5 sidesteps any tactics with knight c3. He played knight c3 anyway. And this, I guess this is what he was looking for with queen b2. I mean, black does have some annoying activity here. I mean, white, I got a nice positional advantage with knight on d4, pawn on c6. But now black is trying to play very dynamically. So here I play bishop a6. I think this was good as well. The bishop is well placed. Now we're starting to see some entry squares on the queen side. So black goes rook d8, defends this guy. I guess, stopping some of the effect of queen c7. Now rook fc1. I had originally wanted to play rook ac1, but then I saw he could play queen takes a2, and this would have been a very big mistake. Yeah, this would have been terrible to allow this, because I can't take this and defend my queen. It just, nothing works. I would have to take here. I mean, I guess this is it's playable. This was kind of as far as I got. Knight to d3, and I think we're going to see a draw. So going back, instead rook fc1, downside being does weaken the f2 pawn, but you got to break some eggs, right? So knight e4. I didn't want to move the rook back. That'd be pretty lame. I mean, the rook's right where I wanted on the c file, supporting the pawn. So bishop back to e2. It's a tough move to make. I mean, I don't want to go backwards. The bishop was so nice on a6, but this is okay. So he goes rook e8, trying to create some threats along the e file and maybe restructure his rooks. And here, just rook ab1. I was really looking for a way to trap the queen. I spent a fair amount of time here. Felt this was a critical situation, but I just couldn't find anything better. But this was pretty good. So it's kind of like, what more do you want? So we force a trade of queens. His knight's misplaced, and my rook infiltrates very quickly on b7. So rook on the 7th. We're hitting a lot of weaknesses, and the knight on d4 is just killing it. Also, we know the bishop can come into a6. I thought white should have pretty good chances to win this guy. So he goes rook d8. He's got to defend the bishop. So I played rook c2. I think here I made a mistake. I think I should have played f3. Try to trap the knight. If he plays, I was kind of scared of this. For him to play, I was thinking something like rook here. And maybe this, maybe I was fairly justified, but I don't know. Because now he's going to grab this, right? So I got to take it. And now he gets some activity, but it seems like rook c2. The knight's kind of trapped. I don't know. I mean, I do keep most of the advantages that I would have had anyway. Pressure, good knight on d4, pressure on c6, good bishop. But maybe this isn't so pleasant. Or maybe, I don't know. I didn't really like this. I mean, black just gets a lot of pressure. The a pawn is not really that good. So let's go back to the game. So what I was looking at there was just playing f3 and trying to trap this knight, more or less. And also this opens a nice path to the center for the king. But instead I played rook c2, knight e4. Now f3 is also possible. F3 with the idea of playing rook b2. But I played bishop a6. And this was a pretty spicy idea. The threat is very simple, rook c7. And I would be controlling the c8 square. That's the idea. taking away c8. So this is an exchange sack. He plays bishop c8. Now knight takes c6, so I get a pawn for the exchange. And really, I just felt like everything was very well placed for white to do this. Both rooks, very active. Just every piece is perfectly placed. Good time for a sacrifice. So he plays rook e8, and I was kind of like, all right, got to keep charging forward. So f3 so that I don't have to defend this pawn anymore. Kick the knight out, also get the king in. He goes back, and so knight b4. Very simple. Got to clear the way for the c-pawn. Also, knight, if I want to bail out from the exchange sack, I can. So he takes on e3. I don't know if this is the best move, but it does help him get some counterplay, maybe potentially the d-pawn. c6 here. Just got to push the pawn. He goes back, and c7. So this was quite an interesting position. I'm down a clear exchange here. Well, I could be, but I got the pawn on c7, and all my pieces are still very perfectly placed. In this position, my threat is to play rook b8. Let's say king f8, or let's say a better move, d4, right? I believe rook b8. Now if takes, just take here, and that should be doing it. There's really no way, whatever he does, I just take. Even knight b8 in some lines, a little interference running. So that being said, I think his best move is to play knight d7, but this is a very tough move to make because black really can't move any of his pieces. Some lines I looked at during the game, knight takes d5, rook e5. Rook b8 doesn't really achieve anything here. Knight b4. And if rook a5, this was like getting a little nuts. I think rook b5, and I think white's got enough to win. So, anyway, this video is getting long enough already. I'll try to stick to the main stuff. He took the exchange. In this position, instead of playing knight d7 or d4, which I just looked at, he took the exchange. Bishop takes, rook c8. And now, black has some drawing chances, but the thing is white is going to go, bam, straight to the center. And black has got to take time. Even if we trade all the pieces, which black will probably have to do, it's going to take a lot of time. So king f2. Go ahead and take the exchange. And just march the king in the center. He made a big mistake here. King e7 was not a good move. His best chance, I think, was king e8. King d4. And in this position, it's still lost. Just to check out some pawning games. These are always good to study. Even though material is dead equal, white has got the opposition. He's got the better king. He's winning. All you're going to do for white here, the only thing you need is to create some holes to break into the king side. The queen side is, you could also go queen side. The thing is, black's king has got to, he's going to lose. There's no way that he can stop your king from infiltrating because the king has such a good position. Also, another one of black's problems in this position is that he can't push this pawn. He doesn't have any tempos to waste with this pawn because as soon as he does that, white's king is just going to go over and nab it, and that's going to be it. So the endgame, this is going to use a lot of different techniques, but the idea is very straightforward. White is going to push these pawns, try to create a weakness to latch onto. Ideally, you'd put the pawns on h5 and g5 to create more space from the queen side pawns. So you're trying to open up, I think the technique is opening up a beachhead or something like that. King d7, just to give you an example. So the king can't ever go here, right? You're just going to lose right away. So he's got to go back and forth. Now you probably fix the pawns. He can't play f6 because your king is going to go straight in there. So f4. And again, if he plays f6, he runs out of waiting moves like right away. You just play like a3. White can wait all day in this position, right? White's waiting all day. Plays a3. He's got two moves, a3 and a4. Black only has one, right? So, and by making that move, let's just play a4, right? What does black do? Whichever way he goes, white's going to get in. And he's already there. So, okay, so the idea would be king c7 and g5. Very simple, and white's going to be easily winning here because now he's just creating another hole. Again, the king is going to get in. With these waiting moves, black still can't push it. So it's good to know this kind of stuff because knowing that, obviously there wasn't much better that I could do in this game. Yeah, as far as, getting down to this position and trading and all that stuff, there was nothing better, except going to that endgame. But knowing that should be winning 99 times out of 100, it'll save you some time at the end of long games like this. So King E3, King E7 was a big mistake. Now, instead of even going into that same line, right, we could really enter the same thing. I saw through King E7, Knight C6. This is going to make things a little faster. Now, after this check, we scoop the A-pawn. So now we got this A-pawn, but he keeps the D-pawn. But the D-pawn doesn't really mean nearly as much. And now he played... with the king on d6, this is going to be losing now. And he resigned here. He could have played king d7. Just real quick, what happened in the game? He played knight takes. After I played knight takes, he can't take because of knight b5. And so this is going to be bad. What he should have played is king d7. Now we take. Okay, so you might be thinking, well, this is a little sketchy with his knight here, but really it's okay. This pawn is so far away. It even almost helps that the pawn is on a2 in some ways, because now you activate the king. Say he goes after the knight. Now we just chill. If he goes after the pawn, we got our pick. We want to take here. We want to take here. It's going to be easy either way. Black is going to take like 8 moves getting this, and then his king is way away from all the action, where white is pushing the pawns on the queen side, or on the king side. So this was a pretty neat game. The opening wasn't anything too special, but I do like the long-term positional ideas associated with playing this c5 push. I thought that was pretty cool. This is one thing that I'm really trying to work on in my game, is working on more prophylaxis, on really just being in control of everything, to where you don't let your opponent get any threats. You have no risk of losing, and in those positions, you're going to win a lot more than you would naturally think by not pushing so hard, just because your opponent, you're just giving him so much room to go wrong. So this is Will Stewart from OnlineChessLessons.net, and thanks for tuning in.